This is episode 120 of the 4Ps, and we've officially hit the finale of our second full season. In what's become a regular weekly part of my routine, my life, and hopefully yours too, thank you. I started this back in May of 2018 when I realized that I just needed a change to mix things up. I was about to turn 40. I had just begun thinking about a career change and had just gotten a dog, and I needed an outlet for my passions, my pursuits, my ponderings. It wasn't a crossroads, but a convergence of prepared and unprepared ideas. So here are four more 4Ps for season 2. And then we're taking a few weeks to reset, recollect, restore, recharge, and then return for season 3. Something political. The comically bad week for candidate and President Donald Trump makes the overtly obvious failures of leadership even more pronounced. John Bolton's book, the Tulsa rally attendance, the racist remarks at the Tulsa rally, the terrible rise in COVID cases in states like Florida and Texas not taking this seriously, the non-resignation/firing of U.S. Attorney Berman. But I keep asking myself, what is the tipping point for Republicans to jump ship and come to their senses? Is there really going to be some change or anything that he does that would alter their mindset? I mean, wasn't it obvious all along for the rest of us? No, I do love that TikTok teens foiled a Trump rally by claiming tickets that they had no intention of using and totally screwing up data and the campaign's gonna have to throw out everything that they had with respect to that event. Now, of course, as a novice TikToker, I'm not entirely sure how it's possible for teens to ruin it. I mean, I've seen every variation of the flip the switch video, and I still can't figure out how subliminal political messages might be included. Ultimately, these kids, though, can't vote. And the voter suppression and gerrymandering in so many states is going to be bad. The interference from foreign entities that will be serving as accomplices and complicit in a potential Trump re-election. It's going to be perverse. Now, it's officially summer, and the campaigns should be in full swing in the weeks to come, but these are not normal times. And there's no traditional or historical campaign precedent or model against which we can compare or assess or even evaluate. Should Joe Biden, as the Republicans are saying, actually just stay in his basement and keep campaigning from there, even though he's not? Or should he go out and talk? Look, if every marketer and creative can virtually attend the Cannes Lions this week from our basements and home office, anything, and maybe everything, is certainly within possibility. Something professional. The digital new fronts are this week, whatever that is, though it's virtual this year, obviously. It's also Cannes Lions week, but as I first broke the news back in early March after hanging out with some work folks at a conference, the Cannes Lions have become just another webinar and live cast company. And likely it's going to be that way for at least another year. We know a lot of things in this industry get quieter or go on autopilot in the summer, but there is both too much going on and not enough going on. So this is going to be anything but the typical summer in marketing. A growing Facebook boycott threatens to further push brands and agencies into the point of having to make very public declarations of where they stand on important social issues. And just where agencies play in that space remains to be seen. As of this post, only a handful of brands have jumped on it, yet their protest doesn't even include Instagram. My old shop, 360i, was the first agency to say that they'd encourage clients not to buy on Facebook, and I'm proud of that. But these decisions will have no impact on Facebook's bottom line unless it becomes a much more prevalent movement. But this is where we are right now. Media platforms are where the great political and social and economic battles of our time are being waged. If you're a brand or an agency leader, you won't have the luxury to stay neutral for much longer. We've heard the words brand purpose so much at every conference and event over the last 2 years. So you've had time to prepare. And if you've been procrastinating, now is the time to figure out what it is you believe in and then go all in with it. Something practical, and I'm not sure exactly where this will go, but given the worlds we inhabit, professional, political, even personal, we know that data is important and it's everywhere. And data is often driven by statistics. The danger is, though, with more data available, there are more people generating statistical claims that are not necessarily trained or understand statistical methods and definitions. An increasingly diverse number of sources produce and distribute statistics with very little oversight to ensure its reliability. Such is the thesis of David Spiegelhalter's work, The Art of Statistics. Even when data is produced by scientists doing research, we know that errors and distortions of statistical claims can occur at any point in the cycle, from flaws in the research to misrepresentations in how it's visualized or how it's even communicated by the media or the public at large. I'm not a statistics guy per se, but I do recognize the importance of data literacy, and you should too. Statistics are a study of patterns in data to help us answer questions. When reported accurately, statistical research can enrich storytelling and inform all of us about important issues. Unfortunately, there are a great many distorting filters that research has to pass through before it reaches us. With so many forms of systematic bias, data is not just cold hard facts. It's subject to human judgments and biases like any other form of knowledge. As an example, before we even collect data, we sometimes have to make fairly arbitrary decisions about what we're measuring. So we should never assume that the data is fully accurate or an accurate representation of reality. There are also biases in how people interpret and answer questions that can further skew the data, right? We know this. This is why designing appropriate questions is one of the big challenges of statistics. Another flaw in this entire field is that it can be presented, visualized in a way that can actually infect our interpretation of it. So some practical takeaways that I've extracted are statistical interpretation fallacies. First off, there's the risk of emotional exaggeration. Many people try to emphasize storytelling at the expense of accuracy sometimes. There's a risk that statistical claims will be distorted in the process because stories usually require emotion. One other hugely insightful takeaway, different definitions or meanings of terms, like average, right? Different types of averages may be appropriate for different circumstances. You've got the mean, the mode, and median averages. The type of average being used is almost never stated alongside reported conclusions. So how do we actually know? My favorite example from this book was a stat that about half of the general population has only one testicle. Think about it. Of course, with statistics, we have to remember that correlation does not imply causation either. Yet the fallacy of inferring cause from correlation is still commonly made by the media and the public alike. So it's a message that I wanted to reiterate. So let's all agree to not take statistics at face value, at least. Statistical info should be treated with the same skepticism that you apply to other kinds of claims or facts or even quotes. And where possible, definitely ascertain and examine the sources of statistics behind the tweets, the headlines, or talking points so you can assess how accurately the information has been reported. And finally, something personal. What a crazy 2 years these have been. Personally, the 4Ps has been to Europe and back a few times, all over the United States and Canada, and it's been viewed in about 160 countries. We've also gone from 20 plus Democratic candidates, all of whom I liked at one point, to one. We've seen a pandemic of unprecedented proportions. We've seen too many school shootings and now school closings, too much collective inaction on global climate change, a proliferation of more public hatred and racism, a ridiculous Supreme Court nomination and approval process. We've seen stars rise and fall, champions crowned, and too many loved ones leave us and leave our lives for good. So, as I celebrate yet another birthday this week, let me share my wish with you. My wish is that you all push yourselves to the limits of your mental capabilities, to challenge yourselves, open your minds, enrich your brains, embrace love, embrace progress, embrace positivity. Just don't embrace your families or friends yet. Be smart, be healthy, and be committed to making a better future, not just for yourselves, but for each other and for the greater good.